So we're here at Grove City College. This is new. So of the 8 students that are in this class this semester, really only one of them had any kind of experience with virtual reality at all. And so we kind of had to have that learning curve in. So the department invested in several Quest 3 headsets. And so I had to kind of get them used to being in the headsets, and we had to build them up. And so I got the idea that I would kind of start them the same way I kind of learned, and gave them access to several of the training videos that were on YouTube, as well as, the initial kind of onboard that was in the headset, and had them begin to do some exercises that way. I found out in the beginning that I was kind of overthinking it, right? I had some good conversations with your staff, and they said, let them kind of struggle through this. Let them kind of begin the experiences, create. So for the portion of our class that's surrounded by Zoe, they're going to be an educational software company. And so they're kind of developing their products that way. I was going to kind of guide them into one kind of group focus. And I said, no, just let them kind of do their experiences. So I gave them the kind of general scenario, and they went off. I have one group of 2 that's completely new to virtual reality. And so kind of watching them learn the interactions and trying to help along the way, but without kind of doing everything for them, watching them kind of figure things out. The other group is a little more tech savvy, but it's interesting because both of those students are also kind of filmmakers. So the first time I went into their build, I kind of went, what is going on? And it was trying stuff out, and there are explosions and there's fires. And I'm like, okay. So they're like, how do I get this to blow up? And I'm like, oh my goodness. But it's been interesting because I every once in a while it's kind of refocusing. Remember who your target audience is and kind of what you're doing. And actually what they're doing now is I'd asked them this week, as they're doing some testing, because they're going through this whole process of how do I develop a product, as well as kind of build a company. And so I said, let's do some user testing. And so I walked them kind of through product development of software. So they've done user flow designs, and then they kind of went out and they did some paper prototypes, and now they've gone some high fidelity stuff as well. And so with the Zoe software, they're actually going to, I encourage them to reach out to our ed students, ed majors, who are in that space, and let's run your lessons by them and your experiences by them, and see what kind of feedback you get. I've been a VR enthusiast for a number of years, probably 5 or 6. So that was kind of I had my own devices when we started this process, and that was kind of the way that I pitched this. I said, hey, I'm watching this kind of area explode, and we want to kind of stay on the kind of cutting edge of this. And so outside of teaching, I have several companies, and so we're starting to integrate all of these things. And in entrepreneurship, especially, we just kind of have to be on really kind of the cutting edge of where marketing is going and where some of this other software going, what are new markets that are opening up. And so with a particular course in digital entrepreneurship, it started out with my idea of no code, developing no code apps. And we already kind of started to play with that a little bit, but as that's expanded with really kind of this explosion of AI and the capabilities of some of the new platforms, virtual reality was just a next step. This semester was much more exploratory, because it's, like I said, this is kind of the pilot of it all. And so I wasn't really sure what to expect. We've kind of developed this thing where a student can take an idea, starting from the very first semester. So the very first semester, our freshmen take either their very first year, the first or second semester, they take a 5-week course with me that's just kind of introduction to tech for an entrepreneur. And it's really kind of a throw them in the deep end kind of thing. And on day 1, I go, here's how you turn your computer on. And on day 5, they have a fully functioning e-commerce site. and they
Mm.
built a lecture. And so I kind of introduced them to a couple of things without really telling them in detail how we use these things. And so we found as an entrepreneur, we kind of have to figure these things out. So by the time they take this course, some of them in the second semester, they can extend upon this. And so some of them are taking e-commerce courses, and we teach the lean launch method here. And so this kind of idea of short form going straight to a viable MVP and testing it out fits in really well with kind of the simplified way of just going in and immediately beginning to craft something with a low kind of learning curve. And so Zoe was perfect for that. And then, as I said, I'm kind of finding out other capabilities and, figuring out how else can we build experiences and lesson plans out of this. They've asked about things like being able to go in and practice pitches somehow. And so we kind of saw the exhibit space. Can we build that out into something that we can make it where they could kind of practice pitching or selling, or maybe they're at a convention. And so it's come ideas like that with entrepreneurship. Um, can they walk through a sales experience or a sales lesson? From my standpoint, teaching entrepreneurship is when they're tasked with something and they're given the freedom to kind of explore and learn on their own, they get much more creative and much more into it than if they're directed and handheld. In the beginning, they want that, they ask for that. And I think especially with, I have a large amount of freshmen this semester for this class, which isn't always the case. They kind of expected or thought they needed more of the hand holding. But once you've kind of given them the confidence and said, hey, you can do this, I want you to kind of be creative and learn, they excel and they jump in and they perform admirably. As I said, for me, it was a confidence builder, and it really did allow a lot of them to come out of their shell. A lot of them, they know their cell phone, they know their social media, but kind of reaching outside of that. So that was really kind of a fear point for a lot of them, and the simplicity of the platform, the ease of kind of getting to use it. Not the simplicity, I think that's kind of a bad word, actually, because like I said, I found out it was capable of doing a lot more than I thought it was. But the ease of it, of getting in the learning curve, gave them more confidence early on to really kind of let their minds wander.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
for me, from an educational standpoint, that was one of the major benefits of it. I think early on, the better you can start to kind of plan out how you're going to integrate it. That, at least at the college level, that was the more difficult part for me. How do I integrate this into my normal kind of lesson plan? I used to get annoyed sometimes with my younger kids. They spend so much time on Minecraft until I would see what they were building. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, where did that come from? Right. And so this is another extension that makes this kind of much more personal and much more kind of interactive, that they can begin to let their minds kind of grow. Right. I think a lot of kids, younger kids now, their imagination isn't what it used to be because they have access to so much stuff. Right. You really are kind of forced to envision and see what you want to make, and then you get to tinker and figure out how you make it. So
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect segue into that kind of thinking. So I'm curious to see where they go with it.